What is up, you amazing people? It is Nima here, and today I have a very different video for you. See, I want to talk about a game called Nikoderiko: The Magical World. The problem is, I haven't really had enough time to get into it that much, but what I've played, I really liked. I've enjoyed this game almost as much as I would like a Donkey Kong Country. It reminds me so much of it. And then there's enough people in this video who say, hey, please do a full review of it. I definitely will, but I at least wanted to highlight it a little bit. I felt like my words might just be very generalized, like me likey game, game fun, game make me smile, just because I haven't put in that much time, honestly. But there again, I just wanted to like show you guys some of the gameplay, and if this is a game you were thinking about picking up, maybe just me saying a few kind words about the game and telling you that I'm really enjoying it might be enough to make you want to grab it yourself, or at least just check out some of the video here. But at the same time, I wanted to talk to you guys about Thanksgiving, the holidays, Christmas, all of that stuff, and just in general about a lesson I learned from my son and how I feel like it might have saved my life. Is one of the most simplistic things that could ever be implemented in my daily life, but I've just noticed I'm a lot happier since I've done it. Things don't anger me as much, and I have more time. Oh, and if you too would like to know my secret, there's a link below to an ebook called Nima Scams You. And yes, it's only $4.99 and you can cancel anytime you want, although you can't really cancel anytime. No, I'm kidding. This isn't even like a self-help thing. It's just something that happened randomly that made me rethink a lot of things. So for this, I have to take you guys back to when we went to Disney World for vacation. You see, I don't know if any of you been to Disney World, but that place is like Fort Knox. There's an interstate that is basically just like Mickey Drive. Then you have to take a boat kind of thing, like a ferry, over to the actual magical kingdom. Then you have to go through more checkpoints before you're finally in it. So when we first got to Mickey Drive, this highway that will take you to the parking lot of Disney World, which is then, like I said, right before you get on a ferry to go over a relatively large body of water to then go into Disney World. When you first turned on to Mickey Drive, there was like a number of people protesting, probably 20 or 30. They were sitting there at the corner when we turned on, like the on-ramp kind of area. So they were all protesting something, and this sparked a big debate in the car. Everybody had an opinion on what they were protesting and how it affected them, and this lasted until we actually got into Disney World, till we actually saw the Magic Kingdom. That was through, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes on a highway, that was walking through a long parking lot, that was riding on a ferry. And while you would think that this debate would actually dissipate, as we're the happiest place on earth, right? Well, that's what they say. It actually grew. And so at some point during all of this, and I asked my son, I said, so what do you think about it? And he's like, well, it's pretty cool. I actually kind of thought it would be bigger. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You're like, oh, the kingdom, right? The castle, all that? And I said, no. What do you think about what the adults are talking about? And he's like, oh, I don't care. And I said, oh, you don't care about the protest? You don't care? He's like, no, I care about that. I just don't care what the adults say. And in that moment, I realized my son's a genius. That is exactly how I should live my life. Why care what other people think about things? Why do we spend so much time doing that? And the thing is I had that mentality when I was like a teenager or, 10, 11 years old like him. I just didn't care what people thought because it didn't affect me. But yet I know that so many of us spend all of our time on social media listening to what people have to say and then commenting on the comments and ultimately just wasting our life away, causing nothing but stress, anger, and honestly creating this addiction to that anger and that stress that only gets fed by more of that. And at the end of the day, when you ask someone, hey, do you really care about blah, blah, blah? Does it affect your life? Most of the time, the answer is no. And it's sad because we waste so much time caring about stuff that doesn't matter. So ultimately, I kind of learned just to not care. I know that sounds flippant and kind of dismissive because obviously there are things globally and locally that do affect us and things that we should care about. But when it comes to what they're talking about on mainstream media or what they're talking about on social media, like 95% of that stuff doesn't matter. In fact, they're just trying to get rage clicks. They are going to say, the most outrageous things so that we do want to interact with it. I mean, that's how they make their money. They feed the trolls, and then they also feed their own ecosystem. And that's basically the secret of making money on any sort of platform that requires attention, views, interactions, things of that nature. And yet there are so many of us who know that. We walk into a situation knowing that we could easily spend a good hour or two and let it negatively affect our mental health, and yet we still do it because we think that, okay, maybe I'm not going to change the way Rachel Maddow thinks, but maybe one of the people who are commenting below her video, I can change that person. No, you can't. And also, why does it matter what they care? Why do we spend hours of our day trying to change opinions of other people? I mean, honestly, why do we care what other people think when it really doesn't affect us? I mean, if Joe Nobody on InstaFace thinks that the world is a horseshoe, what's it matter? You might spend an hour of your time trying to convince him that the world is not a horseshoe, but at the end of the day, you know that he's walking away from that debate thinking the world is a goddamn horseshoe, and you've just wasted a lot of your life, and now you're also angry about it. And honestly, caring what other people think is actually hurting us. It's for the worst, because not only does it affect our own mental health in a negative manner, but also it causes us to form these opinions about people that's not true. Like, we just assume that they all think this way, or that side thinks this other side thinks that, and it can be completely opposite. But because they might think one thing on one topic, we immediately throw them into a box, and that box is something that angers us. And we would hate if people did the same thing to us, but we all know that we subconsciously do that, and we do that all the time on social media, and we take all of that energy out into the real world with us, and then we act like we're extremists and we hate each other, but we don't even know each other, but we've already formed these opinions of each other. It's ridiculous. Like, honestly, my ability, and I would say ability now, but just to say I don't care, has really shaped me for the better. And not caring has actually been one of the greatest things I've learned how to do recently. It sounds insane, but honestly, I've never been less angry, less stressed out, or even feel like I'm on an island by myself. Because see, if somebody says something that I think is out of pocket or I don't really agree with them on, I just don't engage. Like, I don't care. That's their thought on that, and so be it. And obviously, this isn't just like a one-size-fits-all kind of mentality, because I do have a checklist, you know? Do I care about this problem? Do I really care about this problem? Or am I just being forced an opinion? That's number one. Number two, is any action I commit going to actually affect this situation? Probably not. Or does my opinion on this actually matter? Does anyone really care about it? Do I really care about my own opinion on it? Again, the answer usually is no. And if all those are yeses, and I'm trying to convince somebody to see things my way, I then ask myself and them why they would have that opinion, and try to understand how they got there, so that if I can explain how I got to my opinion, maybe we could find some common ground, or at least understand where each other's coming from. And most of these things I only do in real life because I start thinking about that process on social media, and I immediately am like, I don't care. I just don't care that much. Ultimately, it's saved me so much time, so much anger, so much stress. Even my wife will say, and when I've even just suggested this to my wife, who's fully addicted, she's like, well, I'm only on my social media accounts for like maybe an hour and a half a day. And I tell her that's almost 500 hours a year. That's 5,000 hours a decade. That's a whole lot of time. Like, you're gonna want that time back at some point. And she will retort with, well, you play video games for even more than that. I say, yes, but it doesn't affect me negatively. I mean, maybe in some forms, but not mentally. I'm not angry all the time. I'm actually enjoying that time. And I wouldn't want that time back if I could. If I had that time back, guess what? I'd just be playing more video games. Would you still be arguing with somebody on Facebook? Like, no, you wouldn't. I don't know. I just figured I would share that with you guys because there was some issues that happened at my Thanksgiving, and I applied all of that, realized I didn't really care about the situation, and just walked right on through. And honestly, it was probably one of the best Thanksgivings I've had in a while. But also, I really wanted you guys to check out the gameplay of Nikoderiko. By the way, I just want to say this too. If you are in the development, or if you are in the naming of video games, please don't do this. If this game was just called Sly the Magical World, people would reference it a lot more. But when they look at it now, they're like, I don't even know the name of this game. Nikoderiko? The heck's that? I'm sorry, is it really good game, and I think a lot of people should check it out. It's very much like Donkey Kong Country. In fact, it's almost a blatant ripoff in some ways, but hey, we haven't gotten a new DK in a long time. You know, it runs really well, it looks really good, there's a lot of positives to this game, but I think one of the reasons people don't talk about it is just because of the name itself. But anyway, again, I want you guys to just check that out. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game. I promise I'm not turning into like some weird self-help channel, or I don't know, whatever you call that. I just figured I would talk about some stuff that I don't typically talk about. I was going to tell you guys a funny story, but I'll save that for my next gameplay video. Anyway, I love y'all. Hope you guys have a great holiday season. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.